As the war against insecurity rages on in the country, Amnesty International has asked the International Criminal Court to open an investigation into the alleged atrocities by the Nigerian security forces and Boko Haram in the Northeast. To discuss this, I have joining me on the news senior researcher at the South African Institute of Security Studies. Thanks for joining us, Allan Ngeri. What do you make of these allegations against the Nigerian government, as well as the Boko Haram group?
Thank you very much for having me on your show. The situation has been going on in terms of a preliminary examination at the ICC since November 2010. And the allegations against both Boko Haram and the Nigerian security forces range from crimes against humanity to war crimes. I think the civilian population have been the worst hit, and it's about time that actually the assessment by the prosecutor would then get to the investigation phase at the International Criminal Court. This has been going on for 9 years now, and it's time now that that action is taken either at the International Criminal Court level or by the Nigerian criminal justice system.
Absolutely, because the question I was about asking, or I still want to ask then, is if at all it's true that the Nigerian government is stalling on its part in this investigation, can it really stop the ICC from doing its work, looking at the structure of this world court?
Well, you must remember that the ICC is a court of last resort. So what it is intended to do is, if the Nigerian government is unable or if it is unwilling to prosecute either Boko Haram suspects or its own security forces, then the ICC comes in. And this is what the prosecutor of the ICC is looking at this point. She is looking, and her office is looking into whether the Nigerian government is going to investigate and prosecute the very same crimes that her office is looking at. So crimes against humanity and war crimes, not necessarily terrorism offenses, but those specific offenses of war crimes and crimes against humanity that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the court. So if the Nigerian government is able then to prosecute individuals who are really responsible for the violations in the northeast part of Nigeria, then the ICC would have no place.
I'm sure you're also mindful, Allan, of the rivalry, quote and unquote, between the Nigerian Army and Amnesty. In fact, only last month, the Nigerian Army voted, so to speak now, for the closure of Amnesty's offices in the country. But then on the flip side, I'm looking at Boko Haram. This war now instigated by these terrorists doesn't seem like the regular war crimes that ICC prosecutes. Or what do you think?
So the purview of the ICC is really, and this is what the prosecutor is looking at, to see whether the crimes that are alleged to have been committed by the Nigerian security forces as well as Boko Haram are murder, persecution, rape, sexual violence within the definition of the Rome Statute. That is what the ICC is looking at. And I believe that many of the reports, not just by Amnesty International, but by various other actors in Nigeria and outside that have been analyzing what's going on in Nigeria, are very clear that there is very reasonable grounds to believe that both the Nigerian security forces as well as Boko Haram have committed these atrocities, these crimes against the civilian population. So this other concern, the conflict between the Fulani herdsmen and the Christian farmers, that's also part of the purview of the consideration of the ICC prosecutors. So there's a lot at play, and I think it's about time that we actually see a criminal justice system addressing this issue. Ideally, it should be the Nigerian criminal justice system that is activated.
Absolutely. Allan Ngeri, thank you very much for your contributions.